Hey, y'all, welcome to Challenge Accepted. I'm Frank, and I'm here with Thomas.
Aloha, everybody.
We're digging into The Acolyte. We have the first 2 episodes out now. We've been waiting for something new Star Wars. It's always exciting. Last thing we got was Ahsoka. What were your first initial thoughts on this?
I really dug it. I like this show. Like, I'm pretty invested. I thought it was going to be a thriller mystery, and that's what I got. So I'm stoked, and I'm happy to be outside of the Skywalker saga. What about you? Yeah. I feel like you had some different takes on it.
Well, so it's structurally very well made, really cool sets, really interesting characters I'm excited to learn more about. There was a vibe thing, I hate to use that as my excuse, that was a little bit off, like something just didn't quite feel right, but yeah. I can see that this is a well-crafted show, and for every reason I should like it that way. But there was some hit or miss, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm so used to the Skywalker era that I'm like, come on, mention something. I keep expecting some ties, but there are none. So there might be something there, but I'm appreciating it's definitely well, and these actors are already impressing me, so that's always a nice sign.
Yeah, definitely. I hear you. I'm just very excited to not have anything to do with the Skywalker saga, especially how the sequel trilogy went. Just stay away from them at this point. And granted, Filoni's a part of this, but yeah, let's break this episodes down so we can get into it. Episode 1, starting off with Lost Found.
All right, you're going to be doing the first one, and take it away.
Okay, perfect. So we get that intro title sequence saying, basically, this is 100 years before the rise of the Empire. Basically, 100 years before we know, and this is kind of towards the tail end of the High Republic, as we kind of know. We're on a planet called Ueda, or Veda, I think. We are at a bar, very much like we've seen in Star Wars a bunch of times, setting that vibe. We see that Master and Dara is there, played by Carrie-Anne Moss. There's just like a badass fight that starts up, and it is with a character that everybody believes is Osha. But basically, this Osha character throws a knife at the bartender, and Master Indara stops the knife. While she's focusing on stopping the knife, a knife gets thrown in her chest, and she basically falls over and dies. So that kind of kicks things off. Then May wakes up, or again, we think it's May, but it's Osha. She wakes up on her ship, and she is a mech-neck. She has to kind of fix the ship. Some Jedi show up on the ship that are like, hey, we need to talk to Osha. We think she murdered someone. This whole thing ensues. She gets arrested, gets thrown on a transport ship behind bars, and we see that some of the other prisoners are planning to escape. She tries to use the Force and can't get her pip droid back to her, showing that she's not really good at using the Force. So it's probably not her, because we saw this other person kill a Jedi. Now, we also meet Sol and Vernestra, some Jedi back in Coruscant. Coruscant is way smaller, you can
30
tell.
seconds.
Ooh, boy, this is going to be tough. And you could just tell things are back in the past. We meet his Padawan, Jeki. We meet, basically, they all get told to go on this mission to find this killer. And where do we end up? We end up with Yor and Jeki, let's see, about Osha's something.
Basically, it ends with a confirmation that that there's a different sister out there, May, and she's working with some sort of Sith Force wielder.
Exactly, and Sol saves Osha. Perfect. Okay. Yep. Exactly.
So do we want to do the second episode rundown now, or let's just start talking about that first episode?
No, let's run it down. Yeah.
Honestly, I think there's a lot less from my side of things.
There's a lot less. Yeah.
So I'm going to start the timer, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So we see that May is on this path to kill Jedi. She's also being led or guided by somebody from the dark side. She does go to this small Jedi temple and attempts to kill a Jedi Master who is meditating. He has been meditating for 10 years and has not spoken. He's got a force field around him, something like we've seen Grogu have before in the past, and she can't get through it, so she goes to the nearby alchemist, who also has connections to the dark side guy, procures a poison, and the alchemist kind of says, there's other ways of getting this to happen. She goes back to the master and basically says, hey, this is the best way to atone for your crimes. It's why you're meditating so much. There's a crime you did in the past. And he agrees, he does speak, and he drinks the poison and kills himself. Mm-hmm. While that's going down, our Jedi team is coming in, and they now have Osha with them, and they discover what had happened and realize that, okay, May's alive and she's on this planet and there's all kinds of things ensue. So there's clear goals. They track things down. They know that the poison is something that has to be made on planet. It's very short. And then they go and they find the alchemist. I'm trying to milk it out a little bit to the 2 minutes. He spoils it a little bit, right? Because she pretends to be May. Bada boom, bada bing. Holy cow! Look, there's May. There's a fight ensued. We're trying to figure out who is the Sith behind all this, and May's very good about keeping her mouth shut. May thought that Osha was dead. And then when May's escaping, oh, hey, there's Osha. Osha shoots at her, at her, quote unquote, misses, and she escapes, and now we have a hunt down. And that's about it. I still have 15 seconds to go, so that's about it, guys.
Then they go to Kofar, I guess, and they meet, we see Kolnaka, a Jedi Wookiee, which is so sick.
That alone, but I'm really hoping that doesn't become a Carrie Fisher situation. We'll see.
Yeah. So, okay. We'll kind of take it back to the beginning because
Carrie-Anne Moss, not Carrie Fisher. There it is.
Yeah, Carrie-Anne Moss. And you're right. Like it is a little bit jarring. She gets killed. It does make sense for me in that scene because she's distracted and she's trying to help other people. And we find out later on why May isn't using a lightsaber or anything. It's because for whoever her master is, to impress him, she has to kill 4 Jedi without using a weapon. And so, like, she kind of cheats. Obviously, she has these little blades, but it's not a lightsaber. So I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. That's like a neat kind of spin at, like, I'm guessing the master is a Sith. What are your thoughts about
red lightsaber? I think it's real safe. At this point, I presume the Sith are very hidden. Not to force a connection, I'm guessing it's Palpatine. So a young Palpatine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Or I mean, I've heard rumors about it being like Plagueis or something like that.
Plagueis the Wise, could be that.
Yeah, somebody who was a master before Palpatine, which I'm hoping they go that route. I really don't want any connections to the Skywalker saga. I feel like that's already been done. Palpatine's been the bad guy in every trilogy, bad guy in the prequels, bad guy in the ones we knew, and then, who knows, somehow Palpatine returned. I don't want Palpatine to return. I don't want that. Give us something new. And I love that we're getting a whole new sect of the Jedi. I'm digging Lee Jung-jae as a Jedi. I think he's regal. I think he's confident. He seems wise. And he's been around the block. We have the guy who is, wants to prove himself. He's
Yord.
Coming out. Yeah, with his Yord, and he's the rule follower. I gotta, we that's obstruction of this rule or this and that. And then we have the new apprentice below Yord in Jeki. So I thought it was cool. There's varying levels of experience that are on this investigation.
Yeah, and one of the things I really liked, it was during the interview, I tried to not do any prep for this. I know you get done a little bit of prep for this, but I purposely just wanted to do research on the High Republic, not on these actors or characters. But one of the things I really liked,
there's not a lot.
Of course not. No, you're right. Yeah. You're right. But I think that's why Carrie really threw me off more than you. I was like, wait, no, we're done with her. I love her. So, but I was Soul. He specifically wanted to make sure it kind of felt like Qui-Gon Jinn, and I pulled that right out of that. The kind of this is what's right and wrong. The council might be in my way from doing what's right and wrong a little bit. There's a lot of warning signs already in these first 2 episodes. If you're a prequel fan, you're seeing them already, where the Jedi are a little more arrogant. They are simply the law. There's not a lot of questioning them. What the council says is just the rules. And so if you take that back to the prequel, that's exactly what Anakin saw that made him switch over, and it's what Qui-Gon was fighting against when he adopted the boy. So I think there are, while it's not connected to the Skywalker stuff, there are definitely themes that you could recognize from those days.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm how many themes can they pull out from Jedi, Master, and Apprentice? It's I feel like this is kind of those, you're going to get those same stories in a sense. But I guess, I could see that. I think that, The Jedi are at the height of their power. It even says in the prologue, like, there's no enemy to oppose them, so of course they're going to feel confident. Of course they're going to be, but if you know anything about the High Republic, which is mainly where I did the research, it was like, what is the High Republic about? Well, like it says in the beginning, they're at the height of their power. There's nobody to oppose them. There's no Sith. There's no like big enemies. We find out if you read the books and the novels and all in the comics, like I'm sure Squeaks has told you, there's there are enemies, but they're
the Nihil
really
and stuff. Yeah, but they're not.
in the night.
They're not
exactly.
Sith. Yeah,
right. But they're at the top of their game, so why wouldn't they? You're right, though. I think that he does come across like Qui-Gon in the sense that he's not afraid to go against the rules if he feels something,
which makes him, in that sense, more Jedi than the Jedi around him. Again, like Qui-Gon. And then what I'm saying, when you're on top of the game and you have no competition, there's no balance, which is something that like Yoda messed up on in the prequels. And then returning here, I joked about it on social media that, hey, I'm going to use the word duality too much in my review. Here it comes. Yeah. I think duality is the theme of the show. I think by 100%. They made it real simple with the twins. The twins definitely have two different approaches to what they're trying to do. But we also have duality in like Jecki and Yord. Yord's very much like, let's go in with the lightsabers pulled out. Jecki's like, well, let's actually just record him and get some, some actual information that we need. We have, and that's just, it's all throughout these series, but it's kind of, and even in the titles, the first title is Lost, Found. We have Revenge, Justice. It's the duality. So I don't think the idea that the Jedi are all good is, I think that's going to be put to the test. Just like, because she's a Sith and she's going out to kill these 4 Jedis, is that all bad? Is it revenge or is it justice? And I think that's going to be something we're going to see going forward throughout this entire series.
I like that. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the way you bring in the titles with it too, I'm like, I think you're really hitting on something there. And yeah, I agree. It's pretty cool, in that sense too, where, I don't know, I'm curious to see, is this saying that there is a right and wrong way to be a Jedi? And I mean, I guess we've seen that in the sequel trilogy or in the prequels too, watching Yoda fall and everything. But, it's like, is it further pushing into that idea of like Jedi aren't always good? I don't know. I feel like we're getting away, like I don't want to just see another bunch of Jedi fall to the dark side or whatever, I feel like that story's been done.
I think the story that nailed it is the Fallen Order, because that one talks about, or actually it's the sequel. There's a Jedi that becomes bad, but it's still very much a Jedi. And it's not that it's like they're arrogant. I always think of paladins this way. Like paladins can be so, acolytes to their god, speaking of acolyte, that they become like blinded to like there's other options in this. And so I think that's the thing, is it's like you're not bad, like your ideas are good, it's how you do it. Like a cop doesn't need to be like busting down everybody. You can have compassion that somebody's speeding because, hey, they're on the way to a funeral. That's the kind of thing. And are you a Jedi that's like, nope, you're going to jail because you're speeding? Or are you like, hey, shit sucks, let me get you there faster type of thing?
Right. Like, yeah, I'll let you go this time, but if I catch you again, you're in big trouble.
And I think Soul would be like, I'll get you next time, when like Yord is like, nope, to jail.
Straight to jail. Yes, you're so right about that. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, because Vernetra, I mean, I think she's like the shadiest one for me right now, because she's the one that's like trying to cover it up in a sense. She's like, hey, you guys have a strike team. Like, don't tell anybody about it. Don't make this like a big deal. Like, you take your strike team out and go find it.
Yeah. That's the other thing that was like a warning sign that we've seen in the past, is that the Jedi care about politics. And it's like, nope, that's bad. You're not supposed to care about politics. You're supposed to be just good people.
That's true.
They're worried about optics? Like, nope. You know who was worried about optics? Mace Windu. So that's not, and that didn't work out well for him.
It's interesting because you're right. Like at this time, they're still independent from each other, from what I understand. But like I'm assuming, like any political system, they're trying to take over the power, which maybe is what happens. Once we see the High Republic fall, the Republic then steps in and then says, "Hey, you guys are going to be under our rule, basically." And like where you want to go, like we'll tell you. And so I could also see it like, hey, we don't need to give them any reason to like come in there and like tell us what to do. So like, like I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I'm just, it's too soon to tell. I love the way that it's like playing with, you know, who is really the bad guy, who, you know, like I said, it wasn't too much of a surprise to me because I had heard from other people that said like, I think Carrie-Anne Moss is going to be the catalyst that kicks off the whole adventure, like her death. And I was like, okay. So when she died, I was like, oh, that sucks. But I was like, okay, well, they're doing it. And I also saw, because if you watch the trailers leading up to it, like she's in some of the flashbacks to before.
The character's going to be coming back in other forms. Yeah,
exactly. Sure. Yeah. So I don't know. It was definitely what I thought I was getting. It was what I wanted, and I'm just curious to see like how it unravels. Now with all these character dynamics, it did kind of throw me off a little bit. Where I'm like, is Osha really May and she doesn't know it? Like, you know, she started seeing visions of her as a kid.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Where the fire went off. I don't know. I don't know. How do you feel about her character, or whether it's May or Osha so far?
It's a character I look forward to eventually falling in love with. Definitely not there yet. It feels a little mechanical. Not that her performance was bad, but just there were so many tropes in this. So many tropes. Sci-fi tropes. Fire is the fire one, for example. The fact that she froze up and was looking in the middle distance. It's like, okay, we've seen this 100 times. It's trauma from before. It's a trope that's been done so many times. And like that's what I'm saying with like, this show is structurally very good, but they're also like reusing stuff that we've seen too many times. And so, but nevertheless, I look forward to seeing how much these sisters decide to bounce off each other, pull in different directions, and if they'll personify the two different sides of the Force eventually.
Ooh. Yeah. The one thing well, you're right about tropes, because as Osha is in the prison transport and she's trying to get the pip droid to come to her, she reaches out her hand. I was like, just let her pull the droid to her, because I don't need who is Natasha Leo Bordizzo's character? Sabine Wren. You know, I was like, I don't need another Sabine, you know, or Luke at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, you know, where they're on Hoth. Like, we've seen it so many times where it's like, I don't know if I can pull it to me. And then, you know, at the last
Here's another one for you that right away I was like, son of a bitch, come on, guys. Like, the Jedi Master poisons himself, and of course, the first one to walk in is Osha. You're like, they're gonna blame Osha for this, you know. Oh, hey, it looks just like her. Luckily, they fixed it quick with Yord there, but of course, right away, the first Jedi guy that walks in is like, it's you. I'm like, oh my god.
No, you are right about that. I did think about that too. Or I was like, man, of course she's gonna be the first person that finds the body. But you're right. Like, I loved how Yord was kind of following her, so they kind of subverted that expectation a little bit. Where I was like, okay, that's cool. That's a spin on it. And he was the most skeptical one. So I did appreciate that the person who's the most skeptical about her is also the one that also catches her not being bad, in a sense. Yeah.
I'm looking, I think actually what I'm most excited for is his character and Jecki. Is it Jecki? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Those two characters, because I'm getting some kind of like Legolas Gimli a little bit out of those two. Like they disagree so much on how to do things, but then those two bouncing off each other during this entire adventure, it's almost like they're the droids of the story. Like they're going to be the comic relief going forward, and I look forward to seeing those two bounce off each other.
Yeah. That's a good description. I think Legolas and Gimli is the perfect way to describe it. Because even when Sol tells Jecki, like, oh, you know, who did you get on the mission? And she's like, not Yord. And then Yord's there and he's like ironing his robes or something. I don't know. Yeah. You're right. There's totally like, not this dude. Although there's also this like, do you think that she's interested in him romantically?
No, because right away she's like, put on your shirt. It's almost like more like a brother. Like, stop trying to be the hot guy type of thing like that. Like, put on your shirt. We got shit to do. And I like how she takes, I hate to use this term on a podcast, but she takes the piss out of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, oh, you think you're so good? Come on, dude. Or like when he's like, let's go in. I've got my stun cane and I got my saber. And she's like, or we could just record him. She looks just like the person he trusts. Like, what's the deal? You know, I love all that.
Yeah. That dynamic's great. You're so right. I love how Sol is kind of the leader again. You know, we've kind of briefly touched on it.
Yes.
And you're right. When everybody sort of has the same amount of power, which definitely Jecki does not have as much as Sol, but it could be, we have yet to see Yord's power as opposed to Sol's. this experience, the way he knows how things work, the way he is like, I've been around the block, kid, this is what we're gonna do. I love this dynamic of like just a true master, not just being about power but also being about experience.
I gotta mention it real fast. Lee being not a native English speaker, and the way he's able to not only just speak, I mean, even his interviews are being translated at this point, but he speaks English obviously in this, but he like delivers the lines like he's passionately, knowing the dialogue so well. So it's just props to him as an actor. Of course, he's from Squid Game and he's amazing in that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a great call out. He's been acting, I guess, for a long time, even before Squid Games, and it was like that was the thing that broke him. But man, can you imagine you're doing a Korean show and it goes so big in the U.S. and then Star Wars calls you and says, "Hey, do you want to be at Jedi Knight?" That's
I know.
Insane.
But so there's a really fun game that me and my friends played for a while. They're the Star Wars: The Old Republic video game, and
those are awesome.
And you choose your Jedi or Sith with basically, are you going to be focused on your skills with the lightsaber or skills with the Force? And I've noticed that that's become a narrative that's kind of within the shows as well. Like looking back at Darth Maul, he's not very good at lightsabers, or he's not very good at the Force, phenomenal with a lightsaber, kind of thing like that, right? And so looking at this, I can see Yord being like, I'm a lightsaber guy, I use the Force here and there. But Soul is like, I'm a mind Jedi. Like his abilities to, force people's minds, read people's minds. He's able to see that even the Sith behind May has been disguising. Like that's straight up mind reading. That's high end stuff like that. He's able to catch a few people, so he probably is good there too, but like definitely in the mind. And then I can see maybe Jackie becomes like, hey, I'm really good at gadgets and stuff like that, and probably Force as well. But there are strengths that feel like they're classes chosen in an RPG.
I like that perspective. Yeah, I agree. They had mentioned too, I think it was on the Star Wars like social media or whatever, they kind of broken down everybody's profiles. They were like, Indara, like she's kind of skilled with lightsaber and the Force. You're right. I think Soul is just very attuned with the Force, right? Like he kind of gives older Obi-Wan Kenobi, like you were saying, he's using the Jedi mind tricks. He can also, I don't know if he was getting a little bit of the visions as well, but just the way he could catch people, like you were saying, was very impressive, because we know how hard it is, but he just seems so in tune with the Force. And maybe when you get to an older, more mature level as a Jedi, it's like it probably does become less about your skills with the lightsaber and more about your connection to the Force. And I think they showed it really, really well.
That makes sense as you're aging too, to lean on something like that. One of the things that's nice about this series that we haven't seen in other series is that the Jedi team, normally the Jedi is the highlight, right? I mentioned that before, but in seeing the Jedi team together, we get to see these dynamics we haven't seen before. One of the things I really liked is like almost this shared Spidey sense. When something was going down, I noticed that right away, Jackie and Yord like, oh, it's over here. Like they knew because the Force part of it, and they were all interconnected in a way. While the twins obviously amplify that, but even amongst the other trio, they were all connected too.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. That is such a cool way to look at it, because you're right. It does remind me of Across the Spider-Verse when Miles is running through it, everybody's looking for him, and all the Spidey senses are going off. Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm saying. Like this combination of all these Jedi using their skills, whatever they're good at, together in unison, is really unique, and I'm digging that. Like we got a taste of that. I feel like in the prequels with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then it was Qui-Gon in the first movie, and then it eventually became Anakin and Obi-Wan. But it's just like we didn't get enough of that, and I just love that there's a team that are kind of in sync with each other, even for them going, I think it was in the second episode where they go to what's the planet, it's not Kofar, I think that was later on,
the one before that though. Okay,
yeah,
that's the one before.
Yeah, like they go to Olega, and then there's a temple there, and we get to see that they can just kind of tune into the local chapter, basically. Yeah, it's like, oh, we're gonna go talk to all the Jedi here at this place, and it's just cool. Like it really feels like the Jedi at the height of their power, something I've always wanted to see. Not them after they've been they fell apart or they were ripped apart by the Sith. Like this is them all tied in as one unit, and I just think that's super cool.
But that's exactly one of the things I think is we're going to see the downfall of that, right? A great example is at that temple, the two guards are like morons. They're idiots, really. One guy's like, oh, hey, guys, look at me. I got my binoculars. And the other one's like, oh, she's the one that did it. Like, they're idiots in a lot of ways. because they're not the tip of the spear. When you're not a lot of Jedis, only the Luke Skywalkers and Ahsokas survive. The best of the best. And we see the best of the best. But when you have this huge bureaucracy around it, like, yeah, you're Force sensitive, but we also need you to like kind of do HR. And so there's kind of like the middle management and the low end of the Jedi Temple too. When you're that size, you have to run things. And so we saw at this like outpost, this random temple that's clearly not on Coruscant. It's a bad assignment. These guys probably like just want to get to the tavern after this, the canteen after this. And like, they're not great Jedis. They're really kind of eh. And so I love that, like, the idea of this temple is really just the guy that's been meditating for 10 years. We just got to protect him. And he's doing a better job than they did. So
yeah.
That's the thing I love about the Jedi in this state, and again we saw a little bit of it in the prequels too, is that they are, you know, at this point 400 years without an enemy, a real enemy, 400 years without using any dark side Force users, so they've kind of gotten lackadaisical. You know, they're easier to take out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could see that. I love it though. I want to see Jedi's just chilling and you know, like exactly. I want to see them when they had outposts on every planet and like that. That's cool. Yeah. Like I don't need them to be the best of the best, you know? And
right.
I don't know.
It's kind of like the Stormtrooper thing too, right? Like you kind of get those jokes with the Stormtroopers, like, oh, these guys are just on duty, some random outpost. But then you also have like Phasma, that's the best of the best, you know. And it's cool to see that we kind of have that with the Jedis right now.
But then you also get Bob the technician too.
Yes, one of my favorite gaming jokes. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so good. But yeah, if you played Jedi Survivor, you know what we're talking about. But yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's just cool. It really feels like they're a real team, like maybe the FBI, but you're right, maybe it's like the FBI in Nebraska is maybe not the same as like the FBI in Washington DC or something. No offense to FBI officers out there,
but you're right. If you got they're probably less worried about threats out there, so you got that gig. Yeah.
Right.
One of the things I also want to touch on, of course, is the martial arts influence in this. The old, with the lightsaber and stuff like that, is kind of samurai fighting. When this feels like an old kung fu movie to me, Bruce Lee, knock him out, cool kung fu movie. I love that the Jedis are not busting out their sabers. They don't need to. It makes Yord look like a brash young jerk the way he's like ready to go. And meanwhile, Soul's just like, nah, just dip and dive, man. Be an airbender. I'm good. And we saw the same thing with Indara as well. And it's just, it shows how experienced they are, and also just like a different version of martial arts. And he even called it like the Jedi arts, I think he calls it later on when he references it. And it's like, yes, that's the lore right there. Fill it out, baby.
Totally. Yeah. And I think even May calls it out to Indara where she says, if you pull your lightsaber, you're pulling it to kill. And she's like, well, I'm not trying to kill you. Like, the Jedi are not supposed to pull out their lightsaber unless they feel like they have no other option. So I think it was very on brand that Indara fights May with just her fists and the Force. And I'm like, also Indara, I'm like, is Carrie-Anne Moss always going to be Trinity to me? She just is like,
in my notes, it's just Trinity the entire time. Yeah.
Right. Even the music, the shots, the way her wire work was, I was like, man, she's just Trinity all over again, but in robes, which I'm so down for. That was sick. But yeah, I like the martial arts. I mean, if you have these people who has a ton of experience doing martial arts, like why wouldn't you use them in that sense? So Carrie-Anne Moss, very much so, man. But I will say, like the force that they use in that opening fight scene was so cool. Just May getting up to the second balcony, the way she's able to flip up over it, and Carrie-Anne Moss running up the railings of the stairs was so sick. I was like, man, when you think you've seen it all, and I'm like, you talked about all these tropes and stuff. It's like, I think I've seen everything you could do with the Force, right? At this point in a battle. And yet these fights in these 2 episodes, I was like, damn, that's sick. I've never seen anything like that. It was just badass.
You know where I did see it is in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's an old martial arts kind of thing where we saw that as an era, like late 90s, early 2000s trick. But that's cool. Like the idea that, like, we've seen Obi-Wan jump from one platform to another platform but it's not used often. And everybody jokes about, like, why the hell didn't Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan use speed dashing anymore after the first time they used it?
Right.
On that
I always
Federation
wondered about
ship.
that.
Trade Federation ship, but which we got Trade Federation back on this one as well. But nevertheless, this one, yes, it's very much Crouching Tiger fighting style, which was really cool. And then going back to, again, more of these Japanese influences and the fact that you only bring out your lightsaber to kill. That's very much if not real Japanese lore, it's movie Japanese lore that they don't bring out their blade unless they're going to put blood on it, you know? So it's just fun to geek out about.
Yeah, definitely. I like because they feel like real knights. You know, like knights are not supposed to kill, or you're not supposed to draw your blade unless you intend to kill. And they showed it. I mean, she very much was like, this is my last option. Yeah, you're right. There's like a more fluid style in this combat than what we've seen in like the prequels, where it's a lot of hack and slash. It's very much, you know, medieval times versus samurai style, which we got with Ahsoka. And this is kind of going more into more, what is it called? Jaido, or more Chinese, I feel like, fighting styles that you might see from like, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, right? Very much Chinese martial arts.
Yeah.
You know, same thing if you ever watch Jackie Chan Adventure, he's collecting all those different tokens. Those are all different martial arts styles as well. And that's very much, you're right, the case in this as well, which is super cool.
It's also very Airbender to me, which I know the Airbender and all of them are different fighting styles, but like the Airbender one for sure. That was something special. And then the way that, like, bouncing that off of how May is fighting, where every opportunity she has, she goes for a jab or try to pull that lightsaber off them. Every opportunity she has, it's so much more aggressive, which is kind of like, that's a Sith move. Like, you're kind of recognizing some of the Sith tendencies, which is really fun because, you know, that's something maybe for another time. Talking about the different fighting styles in the different movies, it reminds you of the prequels. It felt like dancing, but like the coolest version of it, you know. And so it's just going to be fun to watch this. I think watching that develop.
Totally. Yeah, the action has been phenomenal all the way through, and I think it's going to continue just to get better. So yeah, absolutely. One thing I wanted to mention though quickly too, we talked about Yord a bunch. Him just pulling out that yellow lightsaber. Yeah, it's just wild to see. Like we've known that the temple guards have had yellow lightsabers, but it just seems so casual in this and like cavalier. And I'm like, I think the last and only time we got a yellow lightsaber was with Rey at the end of the last sequels trilogy. I don't even remember the last movie's called because it's so much I hated. I've watched it once.
Trilogy. Oh yeah, that one. The last Skywalker,
where Palpatine did return and whatever. But she pulls it out at the end. But seeing Yord be able to just pull it out and like use it as just a light in situations is crazy to me. It's just like it's so sick.
So video game. It feels very much a video game when he does that. When he's like walking with a light, I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that in Fallen Order or something like that.
That's true.
Yeah, he feels like a video game character. In comparison to everybody else, is like, again, I hate to keep using it at this point. But like, let's just record him. I just loved that bit because I was like, oh, these two are going to be fun.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Any other call outs you want to do before we wrap this up? I mean, the actors, of course, we're going to see a lot more of them and we'll discuss them as we go. But so far, very promising, you know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I really like the actress that plays May and Osha. I think I think that she's doing a good job of showing two different personalities. Like to me, it seems like she's completely two different characters. I always am impressed by an actor when they can do that. I think she's doing a fantastic job. There's another show, you know, you and I have talked about offline called Dark Matter, and Joel Edgerton is playing two different versions of himself. Like it's really impressive, and I think she really shows two different personalities. So I'm digging her. I also like she's very good with the choreography. Like I know it's probably a stunt person for a lot of the other stuff, but it really feels like it's her doing that. So I'm like, I think she's sick.
Her name is Amandla Stenberg. She has broken your heart in the past, guys. I know she broke mine. I read the books, and it still was broken when I saw it in film. She plays Rue from the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Oops. That destroyed me when that happened in the movie. So it's like, oh, I'm glad that the actor's coming back, and I hope this is one of many things that she's got in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how cool is it to get Daphne Keane back in like a
holy
big role
cow,
too?
Right?
Yeah. I was like, dude, this is sick. Like, I'm a big fan of Daphne Keane. I feel, talk about heartbroken. Unless she's doing an Andrew Garfield, she was very much like, they didn't ask me to do Deadpool Wolverine. Which I'm like,
oh no, sucks. I really hope so. I want her to full on X-23 on somebody. Yeah. Woo, I can't wait for that movie. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But I think the cast has been solid. Even getting Manny Jacinto as Camille, I thought that was cool. He was in like 9 Perfect Strangers. He was in, what else? Was he in The Good Place? Yeah, he was. The Good Place. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, he's cool.
Yeah. We can't wait to see what everybody else. The next big character I'm looking forward to is Mother Anastasia, because I believe she's either the mother of both May and oh boy, why am I blanking now?
And Osha.
Osha, there it is.
Yeah.
Either she's their mother or their leader of some sorts, but she's definitely prominent in all the marketing, which again doesn't mean much. We saw what happened to Carrie, but she is prominent in a lot of the marketing. So I look forward to seeing what's going to be happening with her.
Yeah, definitely. Do you feel like do you know anything about Master Torben? Is he from the extended lore in like a deeper way?
I do not know. I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm looking up at the Wikipedia right now. It's like Human was from the High Republic era, like stars in the Acolyte. I'm like, okay, is there anything else? But that's about all I got.
Yeah, it's hard because like right now because it's so new. Like I'm going over IMDb. It's such a big source for us guys. Check out IMDb, of course. But like Kelneka is only attached to 2 episodes. I'm like, okay, we just saw a little bit of him in this one. Does that mean who knows?
Yeah.
But so is Soul. We know Soul's going to be sticking around, of course. So yeah, it's hard right now. Vernestra better get out there. I want to see that whip lightsaber first. That's another thing that she needs to get.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it, but I think her lightsaber is confirmed.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's too big of an actor. She's way too big of a character for the High Republic because she's one of those few characters that's like lived through a lot of it, So she's too big to be left alone.
Totally. And she was in the books and in the comics as like a big character too, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sweet.
Even the children's book, which is actually where I remember her the most from. There's like a children's book about her like getting her power or her, maybe it's when she's getting her crystal, but yeah, something like that. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So last bit, I from my end, who do you think the villain is? Have we seen the person behind the mask? Because at the end of episode 1, all we see is it's a stranger, and we get the whole idea of the Acolyte. Like, the way you kill Jedi is not like a blade, or it's not like with a weapon. It's from the inside, I want to say, or like you have to crush their dreams. We need an Acolyte. Yeah. So
that's, to me, I mean, it's Palpatine. Because I like the idea of Palpatine. We know Palpatine's dope, but it's that we've talked about it many times. Don't tell us, show us. This is where you can show us. Show us this master guy. Bad Batch did a good job with that, by the way, guys. Check out Bad Batch, the final season, if you want to see like Palpatine at his best. Let's do that right here.
You know what's funny? I think that might be the only way the show could disappoint me is if it's Palpatine.
Yeah, I know. For a lot of people too.
New. I want somebody new. Like, it's been Palpatine forever as the main bad guy. It's like, I know we have Darth Vader, but he's just basically the right hand of Palpatine. It's like, give us something new.
I know, but I wouldn't mind knowing why Thrawn and Vader, two the biggest badasses in all of Star Wars, kneel to him. He has to be that good. And if he's able to dismantle an untouched Jedi Order after 400 years of perfection, that would be true.
That does legitimize him. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I know, but I so get it. I so get it that you're like, this should be an untouched story. It should be perfect, but also like, would it hurt if it makes what we already love more cool? That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like everything that Dave Filoni has taken over is an attempt to try to make Palpatine make sense in the sequel trilogy. I feel like that's it.
I honestly think that's the purpose of the Bad Batch, is because like we have to explain cloning for that one effing movie, and so they did all of Bad Batch for that. Yeah,
got it. Okay. Gotta go back and watch it. Yeah, okay. He looks cool, or they look cool. Whoever is behind the mask, they look really badass from what I've seen in the trailer. So I'm stoked. I guess with whoever we get, but God, just there's so many other powerful Sith out there in the galaxy. Like, give us any other person, but I guess I'll have to get over it if it's Palpatine.
Absolutely could be Plagueis, because that adds to the lore as well. We all know Plagueis the Wise. We all know the meme of have you ever heard of, like it would be really nice to kind of get that too. If it's not done here, I can see Plagueis getting his own series either way. This might be where that happens,
Right. And I've heard if this show gets, does really well, that they're going to plan on continuing it for multiple seasons. So that could be sick too. I love just being in a new era. Like, we've seen, like I said, so many times, like what happens after the Skywalker saga. And like, it just sucks that, Luke wasn't able to restore the Jedi Order. Now they're almost retroing it with Rey taking over and starting her own order. He should have just started up a whole new order, and it should have been like some of the old Legends books where him and Leia basically start their own thing, and he becomes the Grand Master, and new adventures spawn from that. So Yeah, I want to get away from Skywalkers, even though I love the originals. I love the prequels too. Like, I just need to get away from that era.
This is definitely going to be way away from it, even if that happens to be Palpatine. Like, everything else about this feels very unique from those. And we have so many other things too. Like, as soon as they touch Old Republic, there are so many people who know the lore behind the Old Republic and are like, why are you guys not touching Darth Revan? Are you serious?
Yeah.
And there's a whole new movie that takes place thousands of years before this. It's the beginning of the Jedi. And I've mentioned it on Geek Freaks now, I think 4 or 5 times, that I'm really hoping that we actually see like medieval knights. Like, if it's so long ago, then the Force could be there, but the technology doesn't necessarily need to be there anymore. And that would be a very different feeling Star Wars. And so I think it's coming. It's just that this one might still be trying to fix a sequel series like we have seen a lot now from Filoni.
Yeah. Yeah, just leave it. I just leave it alone. Let it be its own thing. And I'm digging it. I love it. I'm out on the mystery. I'm hooked. I'm there. I love the cast. I love the action so far. Like, I love the way the Jedi Order is operating in this time period. I love the way they look. Yeah. I love how Coruscant's not built up. It feels Star Wars. I love that. It's like, it feels like it's on location, not just in the volume. Like, I'm really digging this show so far.
Yeah, I am too already. It is. I'm looking forward to where the show goes. But yeah, for sure. As we're heading out, I want to make sure to remind everybody we are giving away a $25 gift card to Fandango, y'all. Get yourself a movie. Go with a friend. Check that out, guys. We have all the links in all our social medias. Check them out. All you got to do is like post a comment, like that kind of thing, and join in on that. And then you guys can join us too. There are so many good movies. We could be paying for your Deadpool, guys. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, definitely. At least it'll pay almost half of the deluxe thing you can get on Fandango, where you get a special ticket, you get a locket, you get a poster, and I think you get a soundtrack. And it's like $65. So
I didn't know about that.
You're pretty close to it.
It won't guarantee you a popcorn bucket. That's the thing that I want at this point. I already am like, okay, it's going to go on the opposite side of this one. It'll go right there. I already know where it's going to go on my shelves.
Yeah. Definitely, man. Yeah, that sounds like that's probably going to be the giveaway for July. But hey, you'll have a
if we could get our hands on it. You're the only one that's near. I think it's AMC theaters again. You're the only one that's near an AMC.
Really? Is only AMC that's getting those?
I don't know, but I would assume so. They're the ones that are real popcorn. If it's Cinemark, I'm good. I'm there. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I may or may not have bought a pre-sale ticket just for that token to go and buy the locket, to get the, to play the claw machine.
Yeah. Oh, I've been watching it. My Coward Theaters doesn't have that machine, so I'm a little upset, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, if we get some extra ones, that too could be a prize, but we'll see.
Or I might just buy a knockoff on Amazon. We'll also see that because I'm definitely getting one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Again, we're going to be covering every single episode of The Acolyte. Please follow along with us. Let us know your opinions online. Threads is kicking. We love talking over there. And then we're also got some more shows coming up in the future. So make sure you subscribe, review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And thanks for hanging out with us today. Bye.
Aloha.